Mic check. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harshing, and in this video we shall discuss the current affairs and gazette discussion for today, that is 8th of December 2021. Before we begin, a warm welcome and good evening to all the participants here. Welcome to Shivam. Hi Amlan. Hello Sam. Good evening Abhinav. Hi Netra. Hello Bhabani. Good evening to Kriti. Hi Supriya. Good evening to all of you. Good evening. Let's begin the conversation. So today we have some important articles to cover. We will start talking about the segments that cover the snapshot section. The first one is on Armed Forces Special Powers Act, and what is the reason that there has been a request to withdraw it from various states. So we will understand quickly some details about AFSPA and the context of it. The second one is on a report which was published around a decade back, Kasturi Rangan report on Western Ghats Fragility, and recently Karnataka government has said they will not be able to follow the Kasturi Rangan report. So we will understand what is the issue there. And the third one is on laws of succession, the laws of Hindu law of succession, which is not pro females. We will understand the shortcomings in the law which are a part of our polity, Indian polity, right? Good evening Ramesh. Hi Ravi. Good evening to both of you. Today we have dedicated this day in history to Tej Bahadur Sapru. We will understand more about him, his life here. Featured news of the day is on dam safety in India. This is in regard to the dam safety bill which has been passed in both the houses of the parliament. We will understand what is the reason that this dam safety becomes so important for the country. Do we have a number of age-old dams, or are there interstate issues which are causing some issues in dam management? What is the issue around dam safety in the country, and what is the future? What are the shortcomings in the bill? We will understand this in the featured news after this current affairs video, the next video. Image of the day is dedicated on mysterious object that Chinese rover has found on moon. Right? Is it a alien species? Let's see. Let's find out. Terms that we discussed today are Greater Tipraland, Statutory Bail, world's first fully solar powered airport. Which is that airport? Anybody? If you don't know the airport, guess the name of the state at least. Where is it? And the fourth one is 100 years of Public Accounts Committee, right? So these are the four terms that we discussed today. Editorials that we cover today are one, that is on schools and pandemic. What has evolved for the schools during the times of pandemic? The second one is onshore fabrication, an article from Observer Research Foundation. Important article. We have covered facets of it. This is another facet of it. And the third one is the reinitiation of Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0. So what are the important prerequisites and what are the stressing points of this second mission? We will understand an opinion on the same. And the case study is from a forest service officer who has committed himself to rejuvenation of springs in Uttarakhand, right? So let's begin the conversation. The first one, all right, before the first snapshot, Kochi, absolutely correct. Good evening, Ashton. CDS, yes, absolutely. Sam, I was going to update this news itself to all of you. The Army General, ex-Army General Bipin Rawat, he was amongst one of those people who was in the accident which happened in South India while he was traveling from one place to another. He was aboard a helicopter, Mi-17 helicopter. This is a helicopter that India takes from Russia. This is the largest helicopter that India has. It can also pick up tanks, right, inside itself. Good capacity. So there were 14 people on board this aircraft, and the news afternoon, CDS, Chief of Defense Staff, he is, it was, I don't know if it has been released as of now, but yes, the news was that there were 11 people confirmed dead. So this is an update. So this brings to light the issue of CDS. What is the reason that India initiated CDS? So first time we have another position, CDS, Chief of Defense Staff. What is their important job? So we will cover that sometime or the other, but it's sad news for the country. Snapshot 1 is on the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. This act is not something that was formed while, after independence. This act existed before that time. This was the time when Britishers were trying to curb India, trying to make itself independent. So during Quit India movement, this act was initially framed, and post independence, when there were factionist tendencies in our country itself, some fragments in northeast as well, So because of this, India retained this act. So India initiated an act called as Armed Forces Special Powers Act in 1958. Now this act gives overriding powers to the military in the country, to armed forces, even ahead of the civil administration in that particular place. What is required is to declare a place as disturbed. Once that declaration is done, it is put in the gazette, official gazette of the country, then that place can have military control as well. Military control has to be in assistance. They have to also complement with the civilian control, right? So the difference between military control and civilian control is this, that the civilian administration has permanent executives, right, civil servants who are assisted by the politicians, and politicians are the elected authorities. So anything that these people do, permanent executives do, they are accountable to the politicians, and political people are accountable to the people, right? So this is the civilian administration. But when we look at the military administration, they are only permanent executives and they are liable to their military superiors. They are not even liable to the civil administration. So these are some important technicalities because of which democracy is largely followed in the civilian administration, but military administration is hierarchically arranged, right? So there are advantages and disadvantages of it, right? This is not only bad thing about military that there are hierarchies arranged, but anyhow, this act was passed, and then several northeastern states were under the influence of this act for a very long time. And then when there were issues in Jammu Kashmir, when there were issues in Punjab, this act was further extended to those places. It was also repealed from Punjab. It was repealed from several northeastern states also. Some states, they passed a resolution that this act does not need any more presence in their particular state. For example, Mizoram. Right now, this act exists in Jammu and Kashmir, and it exists in some northeastern states, some places in Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Nagaland, right? So this is the present condition. Now, something very specific to Armed Forces Special Powers Act is that the military personnels, they can search, they can seize any person's items without even having a warrant, right? Even on the matter of suspicion, and they can even shoot to the effect that the other person dies, right? But this has to be done only after somebody has provoked them, or only after prior warning. Warning must be issued before shooting. And in fact, there are strict instructions as well. The shooting has to, if it has to happen, if it needs to happen, the shoot to kill is not the main agenda, right? Shoot to injure, so that we incapacitate the other person, so that they are not able to harm the armed forces. So this is the prime agenda behind which Armed Forces Special Powers Act works. So since they have got overriding powers ahead of the civilian administration, they are it is seen by people, local residents, by media, as overriding powers which supersede the democracy of our country. And that is the reason that people oppose the presence of armed forces anywhere, right? And you would note that there are many reasons because of which the army installations, military installations, they are away from the civilian administration. They're always beyond the city limits, outside the city limits, because none of the administration, civil does not want to interfere with military administration, and so goes the military, right? So there are additional reasons also. They have armed devices, explosives, and they would not like to it might cause jeopardy to the city as well, right? So their administration is a little away from the city. So this is some background about it. Because of Armed Forces Special Powers Act, the special powers that these people have, the persons who have committed this kind of act under the under the act itself, for example, opening fire, causing death, so will they be tried under, in case there is some fault found, will they be tried in civil civil courts? No, there will be special armed forces tribunals, and this does not come to light. What usually comes to light is one aspect of it, that the civilian died. But when it comes to light that this was a mistake of the armed forces personnel, then the penalty is not less. There is a very, very huge penalty on this, and the the conviction rate also of armed forces tribunal, they work on evidences, and evidences are found. Every bullet that has been spent, or that has come out of the muzzle, that counts, and that is counted. So the punishment also is not less. It is strict. People are jailed, and people are disbarred from service, dishonorably discharged. So these are the kind of words that are used. again, when a person commits a thing like this. Now, when this happened in Nagaland, and it was found that it was a case of mistaken identity, it was to happen against the terrorists, it happened against the local people, local tribal people of Nagaland. So, this was a matter of regret for the nation, but the people who survived this kind of terror, they said that there was no prior warning issued to them before firing. So this is the bone of contention. Research and investigation is still happening. So this is why Armed Forces Special Powers Act is in use again, an act which gives overriding powers to the government, to the armed forces, military. Now you should know one thing: we should not get carried away with the news only. We should represent the Armed Forces Special Powers Act in totality. See, the opposition always, when I have read newspapers a decade back, I found that the BJP was opposition and Congress was in power a decade back, right? Mr. Manmohan Singh in power. So there were repeated requests by the opposition, BJP, repeal the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, AFSPA. And now when Congress is at helm, Congress is doing the same, asking it to be repealed. So there could be political stunts also attached to it. Whenever the government, that particular political party comes in power, that is the time when they get this, power to remove or repeal this act, but they do not do it because probably there are some places where this is required. What is required is more accountability of armed forces personnel at specific places. So let us see what the Indian polity, the parliament does to acts like this, right? So it provides a blanket impunity to the security personnel involved in matters of shooting. So just on the matter of suspicion, they can shoot after giving a warning, right? Even to the extent of causing death, right? So civilian administration also needs to be consulted before conducting these types of operations. When it was found that the civilian administration did not, they were not aware of this particular issue, right? So the state governments have all the time requested. I'm Sharmila is one of the ladies, right? She is the iron lady of our country, and she has been on a fast, a hunger strike for the last 20 years, that she wants the Armed Forces Special Powers Act to be repealed, right? So not eaten for the last around 2 decades, right? So this is a sensitive issue, always in news because of sometimes killings. All right. So getting on to second snapshot, which is on Western Ghats fragility. Now, I have mentioned a couple of times Western Ghats and Eastern Himalayas, northeastern segment of India, which is touching Myanmar and then Andaman Nicobar Islands. These are all biodiversity hotspots of our country. And biodiversity hotspots are those places which have endemic plant and animal species present there. Endemic, that means they are present only in those areas, and many of them are extinct or they have vanished. So 70% of the natural biodiversity of that place would have vanished from that place. So not only endemism but vulnerability also is a matter of concern, and that is why places have been rated as biodiversity hotspots. Among them is the Western Ghats also. Kasturi Rangan Committee report, right? This report, an important report submitted a decade back. So this report spoke that Western Ghats must be preserved. Now, Western Ghats are places where tourism happens. Western Ghats are places where mining happens, quarrying happens. This is the place for economic activity also. So, while this Kasturi Rangan committee says that almost 1/3 of the Western Ghats need preservation, right? They ask for it to be preserved as eco-sensitive areas. This means that one cannot conduct economic activities here, right? Leave apart, mining and quarrying. Setting up of thermal power plants, right, or setting up of industries, those are not allowed then. And this is where Karnataka has said that that they are opposed to Western Ghats Kasturi Rangan committee report, right? So this is going to affect not only Karnataka, this is going to affect Karnataka, Kerala, Goa, Maharashtra. These are the states which are getting affected, right? So as the Kasturi Rangan committee, it reports that there should be a blanket ban on economic activities like mining, quarrying, thermal power projects, setting up of industries. Since there is a heritage tag given to the places, these places, so utilize it in those light only, right? So only agriculture or the activities that people do, the nature sensitive activities, those should be carried out, right? So this is the update from Karnataka and Western Ghats. Now, why are the state opposed? State wants people to sustain their livelihood, some economic activity, want them to earn. It wants people to sustain them through increased level of creation of goods. So livelihood is an important concern. Developmental activities. The state also claims that people are doing activities, economic activities in a sustainable manner, eco-friendly manner. So this is why the state claims this. Now the contention of a report like this, another report may be present like this. The contention of this report is that during the times of climate change, we are spending increased finances after the event has occurred, after a climate disaster has occurred. So why not spend that amount beforehand itself, so that we are able to conserve the space, ecological space, and we will find out ways so that people are into better economic activities. So this is the update. Now this is where you get an understanding of the government itself, the government and two different facets of the same government, right? The state. So one attempt of the state is to preserve the ecological space, the report says, and the other one, the state government itself says that we should go ahead with the economic activities in these places, right? So Gram Sabha, these are some important components of the report. Gram Sabha should have the cumulative impact assessment, and only after that we should be able to carry out the particular project. Hydroelectric power as well, stringent conditions placed for having hydroelectric power project here in Western Ghats, right? So these are some important updates from here. Kasturirangan committee report and how Karnataka does not want to implement it, and this will be the case with other states also. Okay. The third is a snapshot on laws of succession, especially the Hindu law of succession in India. Now this is not favoring the females in our country. This has come to light because of issues from the judiciary, and judiciary has pointed that there are some issues with this particular law. So before this, let me quickly share with you, we had covered restitution of conjugal rights previously, around 3 months back. Restitution of conjugal rights. Conjugal rights means when people are married, so they have certain duties towards each other, to live with each other, and restitution, to restoration of conjugal rights. This is one of the parts of Indian laws, and what they say is that if the female and the male, they have fight after marriage and they go to each other's home, the person can actually go to court to enforce that their spouse stays back with them. They can enforce all this, so that Indian societies, they stay together and husband and wife stay together. Now this is against the freedom of the person, freedom of individual. This is also against the autonomy over one's body. If they do not want to stay with their spouse, they can freely choose to remain away. And through this, many divorces, if the female has wanted divorce, the male has ensured that they enforce this kind of law. So we have covered this aspect. There's another aspect of it now, Hindu Succession Act. These are some of the acts of medieval times, still existent. We need changes here. So let us quickly discuss what is it about. Now, firstly, law of succession is on who will be able to take the property after the death of the predecessor. So suppose father dies, who will take the property? The mother dies, who will take the property? Will it be distributed among siblings, amongst the wife of the son, or amongst daughter as well? So Hindu law clearly states that females will get equal right as compared to the males. This is one thing. And this Hindu law succession act, this applies to Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists and Jain, right? So it gives some equality in terms of the division, right? And this act comes into play only when there is no will that has been created, right? Untimely death or the will not created, who will get how much of property, then this act will automatically tell who should be getting what. This is not favoring the female child, or the lady who has been married into another person's home. So another example here, if this is the husband and this is the wife, and the husband passes away, right? And the husband passes away. So who should get the property? See, if there is no will, then the Hindu law will say that this is the first point, issueless Hindu married male, his properties would vest with his parents. The properties, if this person does not have children, this property will go back to his parents. This is one thing. Imagine the case of a female here, right? She is a widow. She's a widow. Now the person has gone and she owns properties and she does not have child. She does not have child. Who will the property go to? If she has passed away without, having having a will for herself, she doesn't have a will. The property will not go to her own family people. It will get restored to husband's parents. Husband's parents, not wife's parents or wife's brothers and sisters. Husband's relatives is where the property will go to if she has not given a will. Even if this property was created by her own self, even if the property was something that was given to her, right? Even in that case. So these are certain kind of issues that exist. Now, there could be another case where she has sold off her actual father's property and created some asset. Even in that case, the property that she had created, it will not go back to her own relatives. It will go back to the relatives of her husband's parents. So these are the kind of issues that have come up to light. You can point out some of the retrograde laws that exist in our country. One is Restitution of Conjugal Rights, as I mentioned, and the second one is the Hindu Succession Act, right? So this is something that you should be able to easily figure out and explain in essays, in society, in places where social empowerment of female is required, right? So when a will is created, the person cannot be in an intoxicated state. They should not be drinking while they create the will. This will not be applicable then. The person with a mental condition will not be able to create a will. A minor will not be able to create a will. But if I'm in neither of these categories, I'll be able to create a will for myself, right? All right. So one question by Asim. Sir, Article 21 and 22 is not violated. I think you're speaking of AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Yes, these articles are violated. The fundamental rights are violated. But that is the contention. No, both of the things are present in the Constitution itself. The legal empowerment to AFSPA is also given through the Constitution. On the other hand, fundamental rights are also of individual. So this is where the state and individual debate also comes into significance. So whether state should be larger than the individual always will demand rights, and state will always want to give them rights with some reasonable restrictions. Sometimes, when it happens to individuals, they know what they have gone through, but state only sees the larger interest of the country. They will not be, these are some of the important philosophies. They might look into, every individual's request as well, but they also look at the society. So when these laws were created, when you talk of restitution of conjugal rights, one example here, they did not only see individuals' autonomy of their body or their choices. They saw that the society will be intact. Similarly, when you look at AFSPA, the state looks at overall maintenance of peace and harmony, and not only that, integrity of the physical space as well. So they do not want that Nagaland should become a different, greater Nagalim, a different autonomous territory. They do not want that Kashmir gets away from India. So that is why state imposes these kind of things on individuals against their fundamental rights also, right? So what to do, right? These are philosophical debates. All right, Tej Bahadur Sapru, he's in news because this was the day he was born in 1875, right? He also fought for people, from Indian National Army and contested on their behalf, right? When they were captured, right? He was also a part of the Nehru Committee report, which was there to understand the important reformations that happened in 1919, right? That related to 1919 reforms, Montagu Chelmsford reforms, right? So review of that, Mr. Sapru. Dam safety in India. We will understand about the dam safety, various aspects of dam safety in the country. What have been the issues related to dam safety in our country? In this context, this bill has come up. This bill came up in the parliament 2-3 years back, and now it has finally been passed by both the houses. So what are the various provisions of the bill? What have been the issues? Age-old dams. What is the issue between various states? We will understand in totality about dam safety norms in India and some important reformations in this step. Image of the day is on a mysterious object that has been found in in moon, on the surface of moon, and this has been located by a rover of China, right? So somebody might say, is it an alien or whatever it is, but it could also be one of the one of the physiographic structures created because of impact of meteorite, impact of other heavenly bodies, objects. But if you ask me, I do believe that supranatural bodies do exist. If we have 5 limbs in our 5 sense organs in our body, cannot we have organisms which have 6 sense organs, 6 sense, yes, 7 senses? Absolutely. When we have 5 senses, there are organisms on earth only who have 3 senses, who have 2 senses. One good example of this is trees, right? They are not able to see, but they are able to feel. They are able to they cannot move. Tactile touches, tactile sense is still there. Similarly, there are other organisms like ants. They have fewer senses than humans. So when we can have organisms which have 3, 4 and 2 senses and 5 senses as humans, why cannot we have organisms with 6 and 7 senses? Imagine that. So these are just theories. The first term for today is greater Tipraland. So this is one of the demands of creating a greater Tipraland around Tripura itself. So similar demands do exist in Odisha, similar demands do exist in Jharkhand, similar demands exist in Nagaland, many other places. Either the states want to carve out a smaller state, or they want to create a bigger state which encapsulates the people of that ethnicity. We are talking of the ethnicity of people from Tripura. Now, originally, if you look at the map, most of the northeastern states, they have mountainous areas. But states like Assam, it is in plains. Now, another state is in plains. Which is that state? Tripura. Tripura has plains. These 2 states have plains. But after partition, a lot of migration happened in Tripura as well, right? In plain areas where cultivation can happen. Right, so area with prosperity is where people want to go. Plain areas, you would see a lot of people also migrating to plain areas in the northern Indian plains also, right? So there is availability of land where they can conduct their agricultural activities. Because of this, the original inhabitants, the tribes of Tripura, their population percentage declined and decreased. And this is the reason they say, let us create a greater Tripura land which should represent what we are, what our culture is, how we should prosper it. So this is a demand for a separate state, greater Tipraland, right? All right. This can only be established through parliament constitutional amendment, not through a normal, procedure. All right. So the population decreased from around 63% to 31%. So half the population decreased in last 150 years. Right, last 150 years, and this is why there is a demand in Tripura for Tripuri land. All right, statutory bail. In case a person has been, all right, let's understand what it is about. So this is a person and they have committed some kind of offense, some offense that means criminal in nature, right? Whether it is compoundable or not. Compoundable means it can be forgiven, there can be compromise. If somebody has slapped the other person, it can be forgivable. But if they have committed murder, if they have committed dacoity, this will not be forgivable. So after they have committed a crime and they have been caught by the police, so we have police here, and then there is judiciary also. The police needs to produce this person before judiciary within 24 hours. 24 hours, they have to. These are the rights guaranteed to the individual, as Asim also spoke of, right? So in case the police is not able to present the person in 24 hours, this cannot happen. It must happen. It has to happen in any condition, any case. Even in that case, the police will inform judiciary that there has been some delay that was unavoidable, inevitable, and they have to produce them before the magistrate as soon as possible. Till that time, they will be in the lockup, police lockup, that is at the police stations. And after the judiciary has understood that there is a formidable case against this person, prima facie there is a case against this person, the police would like to conduct some further investigation. So there are ways in which the police can keep them under judicial or police custody, right? So in case of judicial custody, a magistrate has to be present, a judicial magistrate has to be present while the police is interrogating or investigating this person. Right? So After these 24 hours, if the judge finds that there is a case against this person, they will be sent to jail and they will be kept there. So, and after that, police will be charging the person. They will be framing charges against the person. Police gets reasonable amount of time to frame charges. They need to investigate the situation, the circumstances in which the crime happened. They will also, listen to the witnesses, hear their cases, and then prepare a case against this person. Now, when the case is prepared against any individual, depending on the nature of crime committed or accusation that has been laid, right? The delay, the police can take that amount to create a case against them. So in case it is murder, they get as many as 90 days. In case it is a smaller crime, they get 60 days to prepare this. But can the person not take bail in this time? Yes, they can. Yes, they can take a bail before that as well, right? So this is a political case, right? We will not discuss that. We have only discussed what are the intricacies here. So in case the police fails to complete investigation within that specified period, this bail is issued, right? The police is not able to carry out the investigation, the person will be issued this bail. It is a matter of right for them, and then the police can further keep on doing their investigations, right? So that is why in news. All right, moving ahead to world's first fully solar powered airport in Kochi. Somebody rightly mentioned, who was it? Yes, it was Amlan, right? So the first fully powered solar power plant, the solar power plant which is powering the airport is Kochi Airport, right? So this is a great step moving ahead towards carbon neutrality, right? So we also understood that the airline industry has declared they will go net zero by the year 2050. Even Delhi Airport boasts of solar power industry here all around Delhi Airport, right? So and in Kochi, what is special is that these are the floating solar power plants. There are additional advantages of having solar power plants which are floating in nature. What are they? First advantage is that usage of space, the space constraint is reduced when we are having those floating solar power plants. This is one. The second is that these freshwater reserves which would have otherwise evaporated, right, because of high intensity of sun, now evaporation is reduced. So these are the two advantages, space and reduction of evaporation at those places, right? So this is what is Kochi Airport about. Now, public-private partnership, they have taken the help of public-private partnership to have this kind of solar power plant initiated here. So this can become a good case study when you talk about India's economy, airline sector, climate change. This becomes a good case study and update also for you, right? Case study and update, example when mains exam is considered, and pre-exam Kochi itself, right? So this is the update here. Public Accounts Committee, the fourth term that we discussed today is Public Account Committee. It is in news because it has been 100 years of its formation. Now, we should understand that any term like this becomes very relevant seeing the kind of questions UPSC is asking. Many of you have heard from me multiple times, why did the question related to Bangladesh, it was asked, 50 years of Bangladesh independence, right? Why did the question that related to LPG liberalization, it got asked, 30 years of LPG. 1942, Quit India movement, 80 years, right? Then national flag, 100 years. So that is why these questions were asked. Now, this is where Public Accounts Committee also becomes very relevant. This is a hint to you that in case you have not studied this part, go back to your polity book, Lakshmikant and other books that you have studied, and revise a little about Public Accounts Committee. They look at the public accounts, right? They look at the public accounts, scrutinize it, and they recommend whatever important changes they have to the parliament itself, right? So Public Accounts Committee is a committee which has 22 members from both the houses of the parliament, right? So 15 members from Lok Sabha and 7 from Rajya Sabha, all right? Tell me one thing, who is the chairperson of Public Accounts Committee? Is that person taken from the ruling party or the opposition party? All right, now we come to the editorials of the day. 3 editorials, I will cover them as soon as possible. But yeah, these editorials have become very, very relevant these days, right? Providing important opinions. The way exam is asking questions, these editorials are very, very good sources for you to gain opinions on them, right? So do participate in this segment as well. So the first editorial is on fabrication, onshoring fabrication in our country. Onshoring, that means fabrication of the semiconductors should be done in India. Remember, just a few days back, I had covered this complete segment of how fabrication is done. I think it was last Friday that we covered, right? India is already into chip designing, but we are not into the high-end, creation of the nano chips. We are not into this technology, in which China is, in which USA is. These are the two advanced countries which are into the nano level chip creation, right? Similarly for Korea, India can get into any of the components of supply chain, but these are very high-end specialized activities. India can get into packaging, or India can get into quality assurance. This is quality assurance, or creation of the white good industry or the end user industry. But ironically, we do not have these industries also. LG, Korean company. Samsung, Korean company. Sony, Japanese company. Daikin, Japanese company. Whirlpool, American company. What do we have? Just a couple of companies in India, and only one company, Tata, has declared that they will initiate something into chip designing in India. Now there are issues with it. See, chip designing industry, it will take at least $10 billion for it to get established in India. India is giving a huge push, but this push is not a physical push. It is only in papers right now, and it is also tough to penetrate this industry, right? There is a supply chain which is robust, but this COVID time has provided the right opportunity. Let us understand how. Right, so this is the background. We had covered this segment previously, and let us understand what is in this particular editorial. See, electronic good imports in our country, it has increased substantially from $4 billion to $55 billion in the last almost 20 years. So 15 times increase, and we will keep on increasing the imports if we do not create our own gadgets, own supplies in India, inside India. India has become the second largest mobile manufacturing industry globally. But there are many things that we do not manufacture physically. We import them and we assemble them in India. So assembly is only the allied industry, no? It is only a step ahead. But what about the core activities? India is getting into digital mode. We are at the cusp of this digital revolution. Cusp is the time when, it's like watershed moment, right? Moving from one stage to the other. This is the cusp position. And this is a very critical position considering India's security. What are the security things? Let us look at that. Financial security, health security, communication, entertainment, education. Everywhere we are using digital devices. Cannot we own all of this? Cannot we own this industry? This is the question that editorial has started to ask, right? Not only the chip manufacturing industry, but the whole supply chain, the upstream, beyond chip manufacturing, and the downstream, both of it. Before chip manufacturing, the fabrication technology, right? The smaller parts of this fabrication technology. This is the back end supply chain, and the front end supply chain will be, if this chip industry has been successfully established in India, how can we utilize it in various goods, right? So we see all these companies established in China. Many of these companies have been established in China because China is manufacturing these kind of chips. This not only is a competitive issue for India, this is also a security issue for the country. If we import Chinese products in country, their encryption, which we think we are encrypting, in financial services, in health services, in communication, entertainment, education, China already knows the technology to decrypt the same. Yesterday itself, we spoke about the technology of quantum physics, and China is again researching on that. India is not. So these are high-end devices. We will be using them, but we will be importing them from these countries only. If India does not catch up, we will remain far behind, and this will be a security peril for the country, right? We spoke about digital public goods. If you remember, digital public goods, right? All the public goods served through digital means, application, programming, interface. Now these will be various programs which will be serving our ends, what we need. How our financial data is stored at some place, our Aadhaar data is stored, our address is stored, all of them are stored in digital spaces through different apps, right? Regulated apps, for which we will give the permission. These apps can be utilized and they can serve our needs, right? Simple example is Zomato giving food to us. We declare our location, they will give us food. Another example is, if I am in need of financial aid, there will be automated process. I do not have to go to the bank. They will look at my financial profile. If I am able to earn decent, and over a matter of click, I will be able to generate this kind of loan. So to create all this, digital public good. India has already created the context. We have a lot of data, we have huge user base, but we do not have those gadgets, those devices. So those devices become very important for our cyber security, for communication networks, cloud data centers, upgrading and interoperability, fabrication of the hardware components. See, all of them. But do we have that expertise? No, we are not even close here, right? So this is one thing. Now India has already declared that India will be taking these electronic components only from trusted sources. Remember that trusted sources under quotes is the word that India has been using for 5G rollout. We have also banned various Chinese apps, right? Various Chinese apps. So Truecaller, not Truecaller, that was there was an app to take screenshots. No, that particular app was banned, right? Then we have other apps which were banned. There was a game, PUBG was banned. So various apps have been banned. These are the places where India can take entry. We have a population base, user base, demand is there. And what is the government doing then? Government has created special economic zones, production linked incentive schemes from promotion of manufacturing and electronic components and semiconductor in India, and public procurement order. Public procurement order for the government should be preferred from Indian sources only. So these are important updates from the government, and India can become a part of the supply chain. This is the time when India can join the supply chain, right? But India needs to own the intellectual property for chip manufacturing as well. Because if we do not own the intellectual property, we will have to pay hefty finances for that again. So we need to fund the complete supply chain, right? So this is how we can also own an important process for digital revolution in our country, right? So this is the first editorial that we have covered. The second one is on CAM scanner. That is that. Yes. Now we are using Adobe Scan. All right. This shows a huge heap of solid waste. A huge heap of solid waste which is in many urban areas. This is the site from any bigger urban city, right? There are 5,000 big urban spaces in our country, and all of them have a similar scenario. Now this image I have shown in context of the Swachh Bharat Mission 2 that has been launched lately, right? So before understanding what Swachh Bharat Mission 2 is about, let me quickly cover a small background of this. Now Swachh Bharat Mission was firstly launched in 2014, October 2nd. It was launched for 5 years, and now it has again been relaunched for next 5 years. For phase 1, which was from 14 to 19, it was about stopping open defecation. It was about helping the manual scavengers, right, get out of this activity, and about behavioral change amongst people. See, so that they do not indulge in littering the places, not in open defecation. And we have covered both of them, right? All this about the agenda and the status of open defecation in India. All the issues in 24 November editorial, just the last week, and October 1 snapshot, in which we spoke about the relaunching of Swachh Bharat Mission and relaunching of Amrut as well, right? Atal Mission on Rejuvenation and Amrut, AMRUT. Atal Mission on Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, right? So we spoke of all this. This is there in the video. This is on the website also. Just get onto these places. You will be able to find it. So in case you are looking on YouTube, you got to type 24 November Edukemy. And in case you are looking up on the website, through the search, you will be able to find it. The second phase covered sustaining ODF status, sustaining open defecation status for the country, Safai Karamchari welfare, and waste management. A huge amount of sum has been dedicated to waste management in the country, right? So what is it? Let us understand that very quickly here. So the focus has been solid waste management in the country, solid waste management in the urban areas. So this time when the fund has been asked for vehicles to transport the solid waste from one place to another, fund has not been released for that. Fund has been given specially for bioremediation, so for cleaning of these areas which have already spilled lot of dirt at some specific places. Not only for cleaning of this area, for the reclamation of soil as well of these areas. And imagine this, the amount of heap that you see here, this can be reutilized, repurposed to create fertilizers, biofertilizers. This can also be used to create the bio pellets, biopellets for the power industry and the fertilizer for agriculture industry. These will be organic fertilizers and they will be able to replace the conventional fertilizers. This will save requirement of 10 to 12% of importing of fertilizers, as much as subsidy of 2500 crore rupees for the government. This is what we are talking of when we clean these kind of issues. And imagine the health impacts of this, right? The adverse impacts on health because of this issue, and the positive impacts in case we clean this kind of mess in the country, right? So this is a quick understanding about this, right? So we are talking of bioremediation here, right? We have had detailed project reports, but execution has been in mess because of funding issues, finances issues. Finances have been provided this time. So let us see how the dump sites will be cleaned. Do remember waste management. Waste management is an important component, and we have covered both of them. We have covered waste management in India. Just type waste management Edukemy. You will on YouTube you will find 2 articles in August. So first is solid waste management that we covered, and the second one is informal sector in waste management. The role of informal sector. Most of the waste management in our country is informal, right? So informal sector is assisted with the formal sector of municipal corporation, informal sector. So we have understood what are the issues with informal sector in that featured news. Both are featured news, waste management and informal sector, and this is again a very relevant theme. So if I have to spot 20-25 themes, right? Yesterday only we spoke of one theme, right? So this is another theme that I feel is very important for this specific year, right? Yesterday we covered pollution. Similarly, this one, waste management in India, is very important, right? So this is why this mission has been launched, and we are trying to make India more cleaner than before, right? Cleanliness is next to godliness. The third editorial is on what schools need during the pandemic times, right? So the times have changed phenomenally for school going children, and they will never be the same as compared to what it was before for them, right? They have not been a part of school for more than 600 days, right? It's such a long vacation for them. And many of these small children, don't consider people like us, people like yourself, small children of the age 6, 8 or 10 years, they have even forgotten basic counting, basic numeracy, basic English reading, or their regional language script reading. They have forgotten it because it has been a almost 18 to 20 month lockdown for them. So, and there are places, Anganwadi centers, school centers, nobody knows when are they going to open. They have been instructions on opening, but the idea should be to let the Gram Sabha or the regional body decide if there are less COVID cases, they should open, or if they should remain closed. See, the students, ideally, the small children, they are, even if they catch this COVID virus, the symptomatic cases are not as many. And the severity of diseases or the possibility of death is also not as much. But they are asymptomatic patients. They will be carriers, and they might transmit this to the teachers or people who are in their home spaces, and therefore those people need to get vaccinated before them, right? What is required in school spaces is the 3 C's, the 3 C's. So closed spaces with poor ventilation, this should be avoided. One should avoid this. Crowded spaces with many people, again, to be avoided. So school assemblies to be avoided, and close contact conversations or physical exercises in close proximity. But school is a place for socialization of kids. So we cannot stop playing games. We cannot stop field activities. What we can definitely ensure is, marginalization of how we are trying to do these activities. So school transport, school buses, they should be less crowded. Then student should be put in the grounds in a staggered manner. Somebody should come to the school one day and somebody should come to the school the other day, so that everybody gets a chance to come to school, right? So these are important things that need reformation, right? So this is the update from the new steps that should be taken regarding to with regards to students getting back to their schools, right? And before we come to the end segment, that is the case study, and after that the featured news, if you like this initiative, do shower some love through likes, comments and shares. If you share this initiative, we will progress, and together we will create even better innovations for you to succeed through this examination and these tough times. All right, case study of the day is of an forest service officer. Forest service officer. The examination is conducted along with civil service examination, and he assured that he will be reviving the river ecology in Uttarakhand, right? So this place, he ensured that through creation of micro level reservoirs, through creation of check dams or bunding, he ensured that the place revived as far as the river ecology was concerned in Uttarakhand, right? We are talking of IFS officer Dharam Singh Meena, right, from Uttarakhand. He has helped this place, and see, one should note how the steps were involved here. So one step involved here was creating the participation amongst the public. Whenever people feel the ownership, they start to participate more. And he also collected finances from local people, pool the monetary investment. And once people start to participate, there is no stopping to that particular project. So this became a success in Garhwal region of Uttarakhand. Do remember IFS officer Dharam Singh Meena from Uttarakhand reviving the river ecology in the region, right? So if there are doubts, there are questions, do ask them. We will quickly begin with the next video. If you like this initiative, do show some love. Many of you watching, thank you for your participation. Create short notes. We will see you tomorrow evening as well. But before that, the feature news for today on the dam safety in India, right? Thank you. Thank you for your participation. See you soon.